Good evening. Thanks for joining us. Her name is Ashlee Shingoose, and we are blessed to be her parents. Those words were shared in a Manitoba courtroom today by the family of an Indigenous woman a year after her killer, Jeremy Skibitsky, was sentenced. With more on that tearful testimony, CTV's Daniel Helmerson joins us now live. Daniel, this hearing was rare and significant.
It was, Marilee. Courts typically don't allow victim impact statements to be shared after a sentencing is completed. But Shingus had yet to be identified during Skibitsky's trial and was only known as Buffalo Woman, so a special hearing was set up to hear from her family and community.
It's nice. It's a good day. We did it!
A moment of jubilation on a day shrouded in anger, sadness, and frustration.
To forgive. It's very hard.
The family of Ashlee Shingoose spoke outside the Winnipeg Law Courts Friday after sharing victim impact statements at a special hearing. Shingoose was one of 4 First Nations women murdered by serial killer Jeremy Skibitsky in 2022. She was only known as Mashkade Bijikikwe, or Buffalo Woman, when Skibitsky was convicted of first-degree murder last year. Now that she's been identified, her family has a voice. It felt like no one heard us, no one acted, and for the longest time, Ashlee remained unidentified while we were out here screaming into silence. Winnipeg police said new information after Skibitsky's trial helped identify Ashlee. Manitoba Court of King's Bench Chief Justice Glenn Joyal called Friday's hearing, quote, necessary and appropriate. Joyal said he wanted Ashlee's relatives and community to have the same opportunity as other victim families whose statements were presented at Skibitsky's sentencing, to acknowledge the dignity of Ashlee Shingoose, to acknowledge who she was, where she came from, who she loved, and what was lost with her murder. Ashlee's father, Albert Shingoose, told court his daughter had a beautiful life ahead, but it was stolen from her, and he wanted to address Skibitsky in person. I would say to him, I want an eye for an eye. However, her killer wasn't at the hearing and wasn't required to attend.
One thing is, they should have brought that murderer out here to listen to my talk.
Now the family's attention turns to Winnipeg's Brady Road landfill, where a search for Ashlee Shingoose's remains is underway.
I'll be much happier when I bring my daughter home.
Chief Justice Glenn Joyal noted the extraordinary nature of the hearing, pointed out it has no impact on Skibitsky's 4 life sentences or the 4 first-degree murder convictions.
Daniel, why wasn't Skibitsky at this hearing?
Skibitsky's lawyer said his client's absence wasn't out of disrespect, but because, quote, it is his firm belief that his presence in the courtroom would bring further harm to his victims' families and their communities. He said he would pass on the comments to him.
All right, thanks for this, Daniel. A Ukrainian folk choir from Winnipeg is caught up in the Air Canada labor action. Their flight to an international festival was canceled just 4 hours before takeoff. And with such a large group, they have no other options. CTV's Harrison Shin explains.
This choir was supposed to fly to Colombia today.
We were due to meet at the airport at 12:30.
But instead, they're drowning their sorrows at a Winnipeg bar.
We were on our way to an international folk festival in Colombia today, and we were given short notice by Air Canada that our flights were canceled this morning.
31 members are grounded after the Toronto to Bogota leg of their flight was canceled. But they aren't the only ones. Air Canada announced 500 flights would be disrupted Friday due to labor action by flight attendants who are set to walk off the job Saturday.
I mean, the meaning to us is we had put in hours of preparation. We'd even prepared a Spanish song called Colombia Tierra Querida to perform for the people in Colombia, so we won't be able to do that for them.
Air Canada is offering to refund or reschedule flights, but this air passenger rights expert says affected travelers should be strategic.
If they tell you there are no other flights, you don't take a refund, buy yourself a ticket for whatever destination you need, keep your receipts, keep your expenses, and once you're done traveling, make Air Canada pay for it.
Sakaluzhny says because the choir is such a large group and traveling internationally, their options are severely limited.
Our travel agent was working on alternate routes, but obviously in this situation you've got a lot of people scrambling for alternate routes. And with a group of 31, it's pretty much impossible to pivot to something on short notice.
So instead, they're staying home, and Friday afternoon try to bring some harmony into a hard situation.
this was the next best thing, I guess, a chance to have some food, some drinks, talk about our experience of how this has not worked out for us.
Harrison Shin, CTV News, Winnipeg.
In a statement to CTV News, Air Canada said it sincerely regrets the impact this is having on customers. It says it has made arrangements with other airlines to provide alternate travel options. However, that takes time and is not always immediately possible. We will have more on the pending labor action and the negotiations a little later in the newscast. People in Thompson can breathe a little easier tonight. The city says it's rescinding its evacuation pre-alert notice as of today. On its website, the city says the decision is based on progress controlling nearby wildfires, favorable weather forecasts for the next 2 weeks, and multi-layered fire defenses now in place. It says the chance of a mandatory evacuation are now low, but notes the season still isn't over. The evacuation pre-alert was put in place a little over a month ago and meant residents should be prepared to leave within 12 hours notice if necessary. Hundreds of Manitobans are still in the dark tonight because wildfires have damaged power lines.
Up until this point, since this wildfire season began, we've had about 1,200 poles that have been damaged or destroyed in need of some kind of repair or replacement. At this point, our crews have repaired about 500 of them, but there's still a lot of work to be done.
That's Manitoba Hydro spokesperson Peter Chura, who says it's particularly difficult to make repairs in the far north, given how remote it is and the fact some areas are still on fire. He adds it's difficult to say when power is going to be restored, as crews sometimes don't know the scale of the damage until they arrive. On top of all that, Chura says Hydro is trying to proactively ensure its infrastructure isn't going to be damaged in the future.
Vegetation management going on. We're clearing brush and trees away from our power lines and our facilities. We have large sprinkler systems that we use to soak down larger facilities, substations, generating stations. And we're putting a lot of effort into fire mesh wrapping. So this is a kind of mesh that we wrap around the bottoms of wooden poles that when it's exposed to heat, it expands and becomes a fire-resistant layer.
Chura says some 1,300 customers are currently without power. Well, after weeks of breathing in wildfire smoke, Winnipeggers enjoyed some refreshing clean air today.
It feels wonderful. I feel like I can breathe fresh air.
And then all of a sudden you get a sunny day with blue sky and you go, oh, wow, I forgot what this feels like. And so, yeah, it's a really breath of fresh air today.
Today is awesome. There's no smoke and it's great. Good to be out.
Our cameras caught many people out enjoying summer activities today, from getting a hot dog at a street vendor to getting in some swings at the driving range or just playing with the kids at the park. For weeks, many areas of Manitoba have been under air quality warnings due to wildfire smoke. At times, air quality levels were as bad as they could get, 10 out of 10 or 10 plus on the air quality scale. Today, a pleasant 1 out of 10 was the result, which is the best air quality you can get. All right, let's bring in Colleen Brady now and get a first look at your Skywatch evening forecast. That air quality holding down at the bottom of the scale tonight?
It is. And ordinarily, Marilee, of course, when you get a 1 out of a 10 plus, that's pretty bad news. Just the opposite with respect to air quality. So much improved. Also, northern Manitoba, a lot of wildfire affected areas got anywhere from substantial to outright staggering amounts of rainfall over the last couple of days. I'll show you how much coming up. The night ahead, well, you can see pretty clear across the south. Of course, that low pressure system that brought all that rain to the north brought tornado warned severe thunderstorms to the southeast. Thankfully, no reports of any tornadoes coming out of those storms last night. A much quieter night ahead, leading into a pretty quiet weekend weather-wise as well. We'll have a little bit for everyone in the coming days. Temperatures that aren't so hot to outright soaring summer heat. Let's take a look right now, though, first through the Bathfitter Live Eye. Bathfitter, your bath and shower experts for more than 40 years. In Winnipeg, it's sunny, 21 degrees, light winds out of the north-northwest. The pressure's rising, and the humidity right now, Marilee, is 56%.
Thanks, Colleen. A 28-year-old woman is facing a charge of careless driving causing death after a year-long investigation. It stems from an incident on August 10th last year when a vehicle drove over a 49-year-old woman who police say was lying on the Redwood Bridge. She died at the scene. Police say the driver remained at the scene and spoke with officers. She was arrested and charged on Monday and released on a promise to appear. If Abanushi-Mikina is part of your weekend route, you may need to find another one. A second round of overnight closures are taking place at the Abanuji-Mikana-Dakota Street intersection. This is so crews can continue paving the area. There will be no through traffic in any direction from 7 o'clock tonight until 6 Saturday morning. The intersection will also be closed from 4 p.m. Saturday and Sunday to 6 a.m. the following day. If you do head that way, you will be required to turn right at the intersection. The family of a man who's missing and presumed dead is continuing its push for a national silver alert system.
It's important to have the public know as soon as possible when somebody is missing.
Earl Moberg's family was at Garden City Shopping Center today to provide information on their federal petition. The 81-year-old who had advanced dementia has not been seen since he went for a walk in December of 2023. This spring, his family relaunched the online petition for an alert system, which would send cell phone notifications when a vulnerable senior goes missing.
It might not be as apparent to the public that the person is actually in an emergency situation. So this would certainly help to do that.
Moberg's daughter says Manitoba and Alberta have silver alerts in place, but they don't send notifications to mobile devices. The petition is open for signatures across Canada until October 2nd. Advanced voting begins tomorrow in the Spruce Woods by-election. 3 candidates are vying for the seat in the Manitoba legislature. Ray Berthollet is running for the governing NDP. Stephen Reed is carrying the Liberal banner. And Colleen Robbins is hoping to keep the seat blue for the PCs. Berthollet is a former real estate agent who recently worked as an executive assistant to Cabinet Minister Glenn Simard. Reed is a teacher, and Robbins is a longtime Tory volunteer. The Spruce Woods local election office is open for voting tomorrow up to and including Election Day, which is August 26th. You can also vote at the Glenborough Raystone Memorial Center from tomorrow to the following Saturday. A number of other locations will open up on Tuesday. They're all up on your screen. And on Election Day, you can visit electionsmanitoba.ca for a ballot box near you. Now be sure to bring a piece of government-issued photo ID or 2 other pieces of ID. It's nearly time to close the book on Folklorama 2025, but don't worry, there's still time to check out the many pavilions running across our city. For example, the Greek Pavilion, which is where CTV's John Hendricks is tonight. John, what are you up to now?
Well, Marilee, I'm on stage here at the Greek Pavilion. You know, as you mentioned, we're drawing to a close. I've had the opportunity to go around to so many different pavilions, and one of the things that I appreciate is how all of them are different and unique. They're all offering something just a little bit different, and this one is no different. In fact, they are doing a dramatic presentation, a little bit of acting going on. Let's listen in on the performance.
Excuse me, calamari? Hi, excuse me? Oh, no, okay, you don't speak English, that's all right. I just need some directions. Calamari, oh, hey, I recognize you. Michael, right?
Yeah, hey, Chris. I think I remember you from a Greek night back in Winnipeg. What brings you to Greece, and why are you shouting out calamari?
Well, I am on vacation, and I happened to read ahead of time that calamari means hello.
No, calamari actually means squid, like, you know, what you eat. I think you're thinking of kalimera, which means good morning. In Greek, to say hello, we say yassas or yasu.
Oh, well, easy fix then. Yassas, it's good to see you.
So where are you planning to go?
Oh, I have a whole itinerary. I wanted to go to the islands of Mykonos, Naxos, Tinos, Paros, Santorini.
Yeah, you got that one right.
All right, I'm going to step in and break up this performance, so apologies, Christopher. This, I'm assuming, was not a shortened rendition of My Big Fat Greek Wedding?
No, but there was a lot of direct inspiration. In fact, that movie was, in part, kind of filmed and inspired by some of the families from Winnipeg. So there's also a lot of that familial connection within the show that we put on here tonight.
Are you like an actor?
I wouldn't say an actor. I'd say more of a storyteller. I do a lot of my own world building and game making. I'm primarily a game maker. I've worked on my own tabletop role-playing game called Arcane Dominion, and that gets me a lot of experience storytelling and cooperation, kind of cooperative team building. Yeah.
I mean, when I look at it, the audience here, there are an awful lot of people here. Is it a little nerve-wracking then to be in front of a crowd like this and doing this performance?
Well, and what you're seeing here is just the folks coming in early for their supper. We've been packed every single show as soon as we've opened up the doors, and that's just here at the Greek Pavilion. I wouldn't say it gets to me, but it definitely takes some nerve to be able to come up on stage time and time again. And really, I got to hand it to the dancers as well for doing their absolute best on stage every time.
All right. Well, that is really what Folklorama is all about. Putting your culture and putting everything on the line for the entertainment of the crowd. So I'm going to let you guys continue doing your practicing. Thank you so much for making the time. And Marilee, I'm going to send it back to you.
All right. Thanks, John. We'll check back in with you in a little bit. Still to come tonight, running out of runway.
Any progress in talks?
None at all. It's been crickets.
Air Canada and its flight attendants at an impasse as the clock ticks down on a strike. We will have the latest on the negotiations and sticking points just ahead. Taking a look at the markets tonight, crude oil lost $1.05. The loonie was unchanged at 72.43 cents U.S. Gold futures slipped 60 cents. The TSX was down 10 points. The Dow Jones added 34 points while the Nasdaq dropped 87. Air Canada is winding down its operations as 10,000 flight attendants gear up to go on strike at midnight tonight if a deal isn't reached. Nearly 300 flights have been canceled so far, impacting more than 55,000 people. Now Ottawa is calling on both sides to work with federal mediators. CTV's Camille Carmali reports.
Behind these doors, the war room for flight attendants who say they're waiting for Air Canada to meet them at the table.
Any progress in talks?
None at all. It's been crickets.
Almost no progress made throughout the day today on a new agreement between the airline and the union representing more than 10,000 flight attendants. With little runway remaining before workers walk off the job, Air Canada told the federal government that it wants to go through binding arbitration that would bring in a neutral third party into the negotiations. The union responded today saying Air Canada's request for ministerial intervention under Section 107 should be firmly rejected.
We don't think that a third party should be coming in to save the day once again for Air Canada, swoop in and not let them negotiate.
Both sides are battling it out over wages. Air Canada has said it's offering a 38% increase in total compensation that includes wages, benefits, and pension over 4 years. But the union says when you look at just the wages, that amounts to just over 17% over 4 years. The airline says that's a fair amount.
This will make them the best paid in Canada. And that's important because they are the best flight attendants in Canada.
Flight attendants also fighting to get compensated for unpaid work that happens before takeoff and after landing. Air Canada has offered to pay 50% for that work while planes are on the ground. The union wants 100%.
What we're offering with regards to ground pay will be the best in Canada. So, we're working to, recognize the contributions of the flight attendants.
Jobs Minister Patty Hajdu's office now urging both sides to work with federal mediators to get a deal done, something that seems far from happening at this time. Kamal Karamali, CTV News, Toronto.
U.S. President Donald Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin are together in Alaska for a high-stakes summit on the war in Ukraine. Trump has said his goal is to get Putin back to the negotiating table. CTV's Mike LeCouture is in Anchorage, Alaska, with more.
A picture may be worth 1,000 words, but those images from the tarmac here in Anchorage may have left some people speechless. It was a very warm welcome and a red carpet treatment for Russian President Vladimir Putin. Of course, it looked like a coordinated photo op of the two presidents exiting their presidential aircraft at the same time and then meeting together on the red carpet for a handshake and then walking towards the presidential limousine. And we're being told and we're hearing, I should say, from Russian media that it was Donald Trump who offered to give Putin a lift in the presidential limousine towards the building where they were going to have those talks. Those talks are ongoing. Russian media are reporting that they could go as long as 6 hours, but the White House had not scheduled that amount of time for it. We know that the one thing that U.S. President Donald Trump wants out of these is a ceasefire. He wants to make sure that Putin agrees to that in Ukraine. and he has said if he doesn't agree to that, he won't be very happy. He's also said he'll know within the first 2 to 5 minutes whether or not those meetings will be good meetings or not. They're also supposed to be joined by a number of their advisors, Sergei Lavrov, the foreign minister on the Russian side, and of course, Secretary of State Marco Rubio. They're having that expanded bilateral meeting instead of a one-on-one. Following that, we are expecting a joint press conference between the two leaders. But Trump has said, and the White House has said, it could be that if the meeting doesn't go well, then it will be just Trump alone. He's also supposed to have a conversation with Volodymyr Zelensky, the Ukrainian president, at the conclusion of these meetings. But Trump has said if it doesn't go well, he may not make that call and he may just return to Washington. Mike Lecouteur, CTV News, Anchorage, Alaska.
On his way to Alaska, U.S. President Donald Trump dropped another trade threat, this time on the semiconductor sector, which supports more than 120,000 jobs in Canada. CTV's Rachel Aiello on what it could mean for this country at a time when research shows anxiety over the cross-border relationship is skyrocketing.
Donald Trump says he's about to send tariffs on semiconductors climbing. Aboard Air Force One, the U.S. president said that either next week or the week after, he'll be taking new trade action against the microchips that help power virtually all electronic devices.
I'm going to have a rate that is going to be lower at the beginning. Then that gives them a chance to come in and build, and very high after a certain period of time. And if they don't build here, they have to pay a very high tariff, which doesn't work, so they'll come and build.
Today, the Canadian sector, which does big business south of the border, said Trump's threat could have big implications, not only for consumers, but the country as a whole.
Semiconductors underpin the entire innovation economy. And if you're not able to access semiconductors, you're not actually able to be sovereign in the ways that we mean it in the 21st century.
With another sector now bracing for Trump's impact, new polling indicates anxiety over the state of Canada-U.S. relations is skyrocketing. Nanos' latest numbers show that in the last month, Trump and the state of trade talks overtook economic fear as the top national issue of concern.
Knowing that as time goes by and as Canadian jobs are at risk because of this trade uncertainty, that there will be increasing pressure for the government, not just to get some sort of deal and to bring stability to the relationship, but to also help industries that are currently suffering as a result of Donald Trump.
Nick Nano said that while the Liberals still have a sizable advantage over the other parties in the polls, succeeding or failing on the Trump file is shaping up to be the first defining test for Prime Minister Mark Carney. Rachel Aiello, CTV News, Ottawa.
Meanwhile, the Prime Minister will reportedly visit Mexico next month to discuss closer ties amid the U.S. tariffs. Bloomberg News says Mark Carney will meet with Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum on September 18th. The two leaders are expected to talk about strengthening trade and supply chains between the two countries, as well as key infrastructure and the American tariffs. Carney invited Sheinbaum to the G7 summit in Kananaskis in June as a special guest. Alberta Premier Danielle Smith's Traveling Alberta Next panel met with some opposition in Edmonton last night.
Alberta doesn't really want you doing this right now. We don't want this.
So, Danielle Smith, do you agree that Alberta should remain in Canada? And will you sign this petition?
So they should have the same respect for our jurisdiction as we do for theirs, is what I would say. So yes, I do believe in a united Canada and an Alberta sovereign within it.
The panel is consulting people across Alberta about the possibility of holding an independence referendum. Some, as you heard in the crowd in Edmonton, expressed outrage, but many others supported ideas such as pulling out of the Canada Pension Plan and creating a provincial police force, as well as withholding social services from some immigrants. A pivotal moment in world history was commemorated in Ottawa today. Veterans Affairs hosted a ceremony at the National War Memorial. This is the 80th anniversary of victory over Japan Day. On August 15th, 1945, the Japanese surrendered and the Second World War officially ended. About 1.1 million Canadians served from 1939 to 1945, around 10% of the population. More than 45,000 made the ultimate sacrifice. NASA's Perseverance rover has made another strange discovery on Mars. This time, it's a helmet-shaped rock formation. Check this out. These images released by NASA show a peaked rock with what looks like a brim. Could kind of be compared to a witch's hat or maybe a tent. NASA says the texture of the rock is similar to formations found here on Earth, created by some sort of precipitation or volcanic process.
As you can see, the lineup has already formed to get some food here at the Greek Pavilion. Coming up, I'll take you into the kitchen and show you why this is so popular.
And when it comes to the forecast temperatures for the long-range forecast for Winnipeg, has a little something for everyone. If you prefer temperatures a little cooler, closer to the low 20s, well, Sunday will deliver, but you might also see showers too. 21 degrees. Then we just get hotter and hotter through the first half of the week, peaking at 30 degrees in the sunshine on Wednesday, 26 on Thursday, mix of sun and cloud with the risk of a thunderstorm.
Have a news tip? When you see news happening, let CTV News Winnipeg know. Text your tips, pictures, and videos to 10400. That's 10400. Message and data rates may apply.
There's still some time to punch your ticket for a trip around the world. Folklorama continues tonight and tomorrow. Let's head back over to the Greek Pavilion, where John Hendricks has made his way back to the kitchen once again. They haven't locked you out yet, have they?
Not yet, although there was a few people who were giving me some looks and saying, hasn't he already had a lot of food already?
Leave some for those folks lined up.
There are a lot of people lined up, and I can tell you that you really have to be a hard worker and be able to work fast to be able to serve all of the people here. George, as you can see right now, he's got 4 on the go. George, are you sweating yet?
No, we don't sweat in here. We just work. That's it.
That's what it's all about. Just a lot of hard work making this incredible and very, very tasty food. I'm going to come over here and chat with some of the veterans. John, what do we have right here, by the way?
Right here we have lemon potatoes that we bake in the oven for an hour. It has a little bit of margarine and spices and lemon juice and all that. So Peter is working with it and he's putting it in the oven for an hour, and it's just to die for. Lemon potatoes.
It is to die for.
Yes.
And by the way, I know you have a lot of restaurant experience, right?
Yes.
Compare working Folklorama to working at your restaurant.
Folklorama, it's the best experience you can have because it brings you home. This is home for the community, the Greek community. We've been here for 50-some years. We get to know each other. We come here every Sunday or every other event to see each other and enjoy each other. We become friends for life. And
how about the food? Like making the food, is it as hard as it is at your restaurant?
You know what, we have, like I said, this year we have one of the best groups that it makes it just so easy. We feed more than 1,000 people a night, and we do it so quick and nobody gets tired. But we also enjoy doing it because we have fun as friends.
That's what it's all about, Marilee. It's about having fun, and more importantly, it's about having some souvlaki and some other food here.
There you go. And everything is natural, no additives. Everything is fresh daily, from your salad to the chicken skewers to the lamb and beef gyro. Everything is fresh.
All right, that's it. I'm sold. I'm sold. You don't have to sell me anymore. Sign me up for another plate. Marilee, this is the most amazing food you'll ever find. And so I am going to send it back to you, and then I'm going to get John to get me another plate.
John is supposed to be anchoring our late newscast tonight. If he's not back in a couple hours, well, we know where to find you.
I mean, I'm sure that I could do both. You know, I'll just have a pipeline, someone delivering. I'm sure they'd be willing to do that.
All right, thanks, John.
CTV Skywatch weather brought to you by South Beach Casino and Resort. Visit southbeachcasino.ca.
I don't know what you, Colleen, but I'm suddenly in the mood for some Greek food.
I know, and if John keeps going at that rate, he's going to be a little sleepy by the time he has to anchor that late night
Someone better
newscast
check on him.
Yeah.
Speaking of weather, the weekend's here. How's it looking?
It looks pretty nice. We talked about the air quality. That's good. Check. Also, some much needed rain was dropped on northern Manitoba. A lot of wildfire affected areas. Now, granted, we could have used this kind of rainfall earlier, but we'll take it now. But look at Lynn Lake. A staggering 84.7 millimeters of rain fell there between Wednesday and this morning at 11 o'clock when Environment Canada reported these numbers. Puckatawagan, almost 60. Leaf Rapids, almost 43 millimeters. Sheridan, another area wildfire affected, nearly 35 millimeters there. And you keep going down through that list. Thompson, almost 24 millimeters. Flin Flon also receiving a much needed 18.2 millimeters of rain. Now, that low pressure system, potent as it was for the north, it was also very strong for the southern part of the province, strong with respect to the heat and the humidity and the cold front that it all produced, which also resulted in those tornado-warned severe thunderstorms that moved through the southeast. Now, the good news is Environment Canada is not reporting any tornadoes that actually did occur, so that's the good news there. But of course, some very tense moments as those storms roared through that area. That was just to the east of Lake Winnipeg, out further into southeastern Manitoba there. But again, the good news there, didn't produce any tornadoes. Tonight, a much calmer night, and it will be a calmer weekend. Now, that low is moving on out. It's moving out actually over Hudson Bay. We've got a nice ridge of high pressure that will be over the province tomorrow. So it's already kept things pretty settled today, and that will continue throughout the weekend. But the last of that rain just wrapping around parts of northeastern Manitoba. It looks like it's just come to an end around Churchill. It's still falling around Gillam, but that will continue its way on out, replaced by that ridge of high pressure coming on in. But you see along the international border there, a little bit of rain expected. It could make its way as far north as Winnipeg, but you see there's not much to it. And it would be very early in the morning, not just Winnipeg, a lot of southern communities too. But we'll get more and more sunshine as we go throughout the afternoon across the province, particularly late in the day here in the south, east as well into northwestern Ontario. Then the next system starts to approach, bringing rain. It will enter the western part of the province. It approaches from the west and the south as we get into Sunday morning, and there's a good chance some of that rain will make its way into Winnipeg. For tonight, there's a slight chance of showers overnight in the city, otherwise cloudy, down to 11. Mix of sun and cloud tomorrow, 12 degrees. 21 is our high tomorrow under a mix of sun and cloud. It will get pretty sunny by the end of the afternoon. Saturday's UV index is 7 or high. Across the northeast tonight, fog expected in Gillam, Island Lake and Thompson. Otherwise, it will be partly cloudy. Thompson dropping down to 3. Bright and sunny there around the region, highs between 15 and 17. Fog across the northwest overnight tonight. Pretty chilly overnight, low single digits. Sunshine or a mix of sun and cloud around the region on Saturday with highs between 16 and 17 degrees. Low chance of showers across the southwest tonight, but the strongest chance is around Dauphin overnight, down to 7 there. Slight chance of showers in the morning for places like Brandon and Neepawa, getting up to about 19-20 around the southwest. In the southeast tonight, Barons River, if you see any showers there, they will end soon. Otherwise, a dry night ahead. Slight chance of showers taking us into tomorrow morning, and those temperatures in the low 20s. Northwestern Ontario, a few clouds over Kenora, down to 11 there. Sunny around the region with highs between 21 and 22 degrees. Our first weather photo takes us out to last night's Bomber game. It turned out to be a great night weather-wise and on the field too. That photo is from Rochelle, of course, taken here in Winnipeg out at Princess Auto Stadium. And Eugene took this stunning photo of the moon and the northern lights over Tatasquiac Cree Nation in northern Manitoba. Send us your weather photos to winnipegweather@ctv.ca.
Thanks, Colleen. Tropical storm Erin has strengthened into a hurricane as it tracks towards the Caribbean. The hurricane is expected to remain over open waters, but tropical storm watches have been issued for several areas. Upwards of 150 millimeters of rain is forecast for some parts. Forecasters say Erin could turn into a powerful Category 4 hurricane as it travels over the very open waters in the open Atlantic. Talks broke down today in attempts to reach an agreement on how to end plastic pollution, and the international meeting in Switzerland adjourned with no plans to resume.
We are sorry to see that we, despite your efforts to bring us closer, will not be able to finalize negotiations on an acceptable outcome.
The failed talks mean there is no plan to address plastic pollution in places such as landfills and oceans. Nations had worked for 11 days at the UN office in Geneva, but they were deadlocked on if there should be a reduction in plastic production and controls on toxic chemicals used to make plastics. A new poll shows drinking stateside is at an all-time low. Just how many Americans are foregoing booze? We will explain next in Medical Watch. Farmers across Manitoba are grappling with worsening drought conditions, which have prompted multiple municipalities to declare states of agricultural emergency. The Canadian Drought Monitor has just released the latest data for our province, and David Lee, a manager of its agro-climate team, joins us now to help break down those findings. David, good to speak with you.
Nice to speak with you.
I have a couple images for our viewers to see. They show what the drought conditions look like at the end of June. So this is what it looked like, the red showing where extreme drought conditions are. The next image is the one your department just released. It shows the conditions a month later as of July 31st, and there is a lot more red on the map. What can you tell us about how things have changed here in Manitoba during the month of July?
Sure. Yeah. Unfortunately, Manitoba has gotten worse from a drought perspective in July. There has been decreased precipitation across much of the province. We've seen 40% of normal precipitation across much of Manitoba in the month of July. Thus, the result of these extreme and moderately extreme droughts that you're seeing on the map.
What is your reaction to the most recent conditions? I'm assuming this isn't normal, but is it unprecedented?
Well, certainly we've experienced droughts before in the prairies. Many of your viewers will remember that. Though it is somewhat unprecedented that we would see most of Manitoba within the drought. It's an interesting time in Canada right now. We're seeing 70% of the country in a state of drought. Manitoba, unfortunately, is the most severe of the country right now, with almost the entire province being identified as being in drought, with several aspects of the province being in extreme and moderately extreme drought.
I guess the next question then is, what would need to happen to reverse this here in Manitoba?
Sure. Well, this didn't happen overnight, and it's going to take a while for us to get out of drought. It's going to take significant rainfalls within the fall and spring in order for us to reverse the drought conditions that we're seeing. Significant snowfall will certainly help in the wintertime to fill dugouts and help producers in that respect. But we really need precipitation in the fall and spring months in order to replenish that soil moisture.
Now, I heard you say that Manitoba is kind of worse province when we look at the big picture across Canada. What can you tell us about drought conditions across the country as of July 31st?
Sure. Yeah, we're seeing, like I said, nearly 70% of the country being identified as in drought, either different amounts of drought, certainly in various parts of the country, but it's rare that we've seen drought this widespread. Our closest comparison would be 2023, but it is quite different in this respect in that it looked like it was going to be good early on in the year. April, May, we've seen some decent precipitation across much of the country. However, it's just gotten drier as we've progressed throughout the summer. Thus, we're seeing much of the country, in a state of drought.
Well, David, I want to thank you for your time tonight to break down those findings. It was great speaking with you.
Thank you.
Health authorities in the U.S. have released new guidelines on blood pressure. The previous guidelines from 2017 recommend anyone with systolic above 140 should be prescribed lifestyle changes and medication. The new guidelines say if your systolic blood pressure is in the 130 to 139 range, your medical provider should first encourage you to adopt healthy lifestyle changes. After 3 to 6 months, if the lifestyle changes alone don't lower your blood pressure to the goal range, then medication is recommended. Also, the guidelines used to say those who drank should drink moderately. The new ones recommend abstinence. And speaking of alcohol, a new poll shows fewer Americans are drinking than ever before. According to Gallup, just 54% of people stateside say they consume any alcohol at all. And for the first time, a majority of Americans, 53%, say moderate drinking, defined as 1 or 2 drinks per day, is bad for your health. The agency has been tracking Americans' drinking behavior since 1939. The poll was done in America, but it aligns with Canadian surveys in recent years, which found fewer people are consuming alcohol regularly, especially Gen Z and millennials.
Medical Watch is brought to you by Manukin Koster Denture Clinic.
Portage La Prairie's annual Hoop and Holler Folk Festival is out with this year's lineup. Plus, we've got your full rundown of weekend events coming up in Spotlight.
Spotlight, sponsored by the Casinos of Winnipeg, presenting Brett Kissel.
Here is a look at just some of the events taking place in Manitoba this weekend. Folklorama wraps up its trip around the world on Saturday. Frozen the musical continues at Rainbow Stage. Verdun hosts the 35th Wild West Days and an indoor rodeo. The Hanover Egg Fair promises some of Manitoba's best bull riding, a family fun zone, and country artist Ryan Langdon. Glenborough has its annual fair and demolition derby. Plum Fest is on in Plum Coulee. Stonewall has Quarry Days. There's the Manitoba Filipino Street Festival and Street Feast. And for music lovers, there's the Harvest Sun Festival in Kelwood, Bring Your Love Music Festival in the Arm of Armstrong, Rainbow Trout Music Festival in Emerson Franklin, and the Roger Kimley Music Festival in Ericsdale. You can find a full list of events this weekend on our website, ctvnewswinnipeg.ca. Meanwhile, a Canadian folk legend will headline an upcoming music festival in Portage La Prairie.
Don't play me a rock and roll song. Don't play me songs about freedom and joy.
Valdi is among the musicians who will take the stage at the Whoop and Holler Folk Festival in Cottonwood Acres and Island Park. Other featured artists include Kelly Badeau, Leaf Rapids, and Linden Drive. The festival kicks off August 23rd with a free barbecue lunch and continues through the 24th. Along with the live music, there's workshops, a mini market, children's activities, and jam sessions. You can find a full schedule or buy tickets on the Whoop and Holler website. Well, get ready to get a little funky. That's a little taste of the blend of art forms you can expect from this year's Brazilian Pavilion at Folklorama. Organizers say there's a focus on Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and Capoeira. That's the fusion of martial arts and dance you're seeing right there at the beginning of their show, but that is not all.
Doing a tribute to one of the most famous Brazilian singer, Carmen Miranda. She passed away a long time ago. And then after, we play a little bit of Brazilian jazz, and of course, samba and some Afro-Brazilian rhythm.
And don't forget, tonight is the late night dance party at the Pavilion, which gets started at 11. And there are several shows to look forward to Saturday as well. You can find the Brazilian Pavilion on the second floor of the RBC Convention Center. Well, he's sung with some of the best musicians in the world, but last night he finally made his Grand Ole Opry debut. That's right, folks. None other than Elmo, the furry red monster, took the stage for the legendary venue's 100th anniversary. He joined Lauren Elena for a duet for her hit Road Less Traveled. Elmo and other Sesame Street friends have sung with country's biggest stars for decades, from Johnny Cash to Chris Stapleton. Your weekend lineup starts with Celebrity Jeopardy at 7, followed by a double dose of Fear Thy Neighbor, and E-Talk wraps up the night at 10:30, only on CTV.
Stay with us. We're going to bring you some of the highlights from this week's exciting lineup of Folklorama pavilions when we return.
Women's clothing provided by RW & Company. Salon services provided by S&Teak Spa Salon.
21 degrees, the highest temperature of the day, but look at this. No match for 1988, the record for this day, 34.8 degrees. In that year on August 15th. Tonight down to 11. There's a slight chance of overnight showers. Mix of sun and cloud most of the day. Saturday 21. Good chance we'll see some showers Sunday. Not a sure shot, but a good chance. Again 21. And then we ramp up the heat merrily the first half of the week. 25 by Monday, 28 on Tuesday, peaking at 30 in the sun on Wednesday. There is a thunderstorm risk. No surprise by Thursday with a high of 26 degrees.
All right. Well, The good news is you still have some time to check out the Folklorama pavilions. If you got ones you want to cross off your list tonight, tomorrow, they will still be running, so check them out then. In the meantime, we're going to leave you with some of the sights and sounds from some of this week's performances we had a chance to take in. Enjoy and have a great weekend.
Good night.
Polюбила, щоб